This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And here we are, January the 23rd, 2022. Still freezing out there, man. And I always laugh at what California finds cold, compared to what we find cold here in Canada. And speaking of Canada, I have a Canadian talent on the show with me tonight. We
How's it
have
going, eh?
the Yes, we have a voice actor and screen actor, Mr. Peter New. How do you do, Peter?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. I was gonna have Peter Old on, but Peter Old was just wasn't caught up with the times.
No, he's ancient. Not like me. I'm young and spry.
Yep, aren't we all?
Oh, that's in
Any
my hairline. Yeah. Way oh, zing, boom.
Yeah, I think we both got that same thing going on with our hairline.
It's that way.
Yeah, but I'll tell you though, it's great to have another Canadian talent on. You're you came up in Canada, and I have a lot of memories looking back on. Like I'm gonna be 50 this year, so I grew
Hmm.
up with a lot of the um, classic Canadian films. And I remember the tax shelter days. And but one of the things that always annoys me is when films get shot up here, but they're not considered Canadian films. And I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's our whole industry out here. I'm in Vancouver, so that's by and large what we do out here is a service industry to the American market.
yeah. Like Mean Girls and Deadpool, they were both shot up here,
That's right.
and that they're American films. And I'm like, oh, you know, but um, but nonetheless, I have a few year films I want to talk about, but one film that, well, last year, late last year, was celebrating its 15th anniversary was, of course, the 2006 Black Christmas. And
That's right.
I am wearing this though. This
I
is the
noticed it.
this is the original. I've interviewed three people from this film. This is one of my very favorite Canadian films, is Black Christmas. And I met Carl Zitier, the composer, and had him on the show. Lynn Griffin's been on the show, and so has Nick Mancuso, was one of the Billy voices.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been 2 years old in 1974 when this came out, but when I was in Toronto attending a convention, I was there for a week, and I had the opportunity to attend a double screening of White Christmas and Black Christmas,
Nice. Good.
and that was a lot of fun. So, but I remember seeing the 2006 version when it came out in theaters,
How was it?
and
Did you like it?
well,
You liked my bit. That's
I
what.
liked your bit. I had a lot of issues with it, but I watched it last night. Here's the thing: I can't watch the 2019 version again at all.
Oh wow.
Oh my goodness. I felt insulted as a male audience member watching that garbage.
I never saw it, so
Oh,
I
you
can't
didn't
speak
miss
to it.
anything. It's basically women hating men is the whole premise of it. That has nothing to do with Billy or Agnes or anything like that. But anyway, watching the 2006 version, I think it might have been the last film that Bob Clark had his name attached to. Did you ever get to meet him?
I don't know if I did. I was only on the set for that show for one day, so I remember being. We shot it out at a retired insane asylum called Riverview here. Uh, so It's a very creepy building, and I remember they kind of put us into this very creepy room and with folding chairs and said, "Here you go. Here's your comfortable waiting area." And I remember sitting there with Michael Adamthwaite and just sort of trying to keep talking so we wouldn't have to think about how unnerved we were to be in this weird liminal ghost space. It was scarier than the film, I think, shooting it. But I don't remember
Yeah.
who else was there. I don't remember who else I met, honestly. So,
Yeah. Well, are you still serving chicken and all kinds of wonderful food like that?
oh, yeah, Robert was there. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, of course he was there. Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I eat a lot of chicken myself, but not just the skin, which is what we gave him.
Yeah. You didn't did he eat it?
Yeah, oh yeah, he ate it.
Good.
Yeah.
No, I saw this version in the theater. I gotta say I like the look of the film, especially all the Christmas lights. There's just something about
Hmm.
Christmas that's very nice. I particularly like Christmas Eve. I don't watch Christmas films on Christmas Day. I always find Christmas Day is when things are happening, but I watch right up to Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, before we dive more into this film, I would like to get a little bit of your background, how you got into the business.
Sure. What do you want to
Yeah.
know?
Like, did you always want to get into acting? Like,
Oh, well, yeah, I think I did. I I was always like a really performative kid.
mhm.
When I was very, very little, I had this whole menagerie of characters that I invented for myself. Like a lot of kids do, I think, but mine was like very specific characters that repeated, and they did scenes, and those scenes evolved, and I would sort of work on them and then present these um, sort of cabarets involving these characters. And this is maybe when I was 5 and 6 years old.
You remember any of the characters?
I know that it was led by Ruff Ruff the talking dog and his girlfriend slash co-worker, co-star, um, Snowbell the cat. But
I have a cat.
I don't remember many besides that. But I know there were quite a number. Um, and they would sort of come in and out. I was sort of like it was like a cross between the Muppet Show and my own 6-year-old imagination. Um, but from there, I kept kind of being interested in moving towards performative spaces, moving towards drama classes and various um, children's theater companies and things. And eventually, I got to the point where I was like, well, you know what I want to do is sketch comedy. So I formed a sketch comedy troupe called The Legend of Bonefish, and we performed here around Vancouver for about 5 years together. Uh, and that sort of helped me to develop this idea of blackout sketches, right? Strong character choices, deep commitment, and then switching it quickly to go to the next thing, which I realized after that 5 years was up was a really good um, basis to go into voice acting. So I
Hmm.
got myself a voice acting agent, and she said, "Well, why don't you have headshots? Because you have such a good look, you should get headshots." And so I did, and I started working on cameras almost immediately. And
Do you know?
voice work
Do,
took another few years.
do you know
Interestingly,
Dave McCrae out of Toronto who does voice work?
no, I don't.
Okay. I listened to his podcast quite a bit. And speaking of Black Christmas, he did the It's Me Billy fan film recently. And next to Never Hike Alone from Friday the 13th, done by Vincent DeSante, one of the very best fan films I ever seen. So kudos to Dave McCrae and Bruce Dale on that. But anyway, how did you get involved with Black Christmas 2006?
Oh, it was a straight up audition situation. I just got the call saying you have an audition for Orderly, which was the name of my character. Um, I think of him as maybe Brian, I don't know. I don't have a name for him. Um, but yeah, it's just an audition, and you go into the room and say the lines and roll the dice. And I guess I hit sevens or something. I don't know if I'm splitting my metaphors here at this point, maybe, but I got it. So I got the job, and I showed up, and I shot it. That was it. Didn't
Um,
go back to him.
was it your idea to make him come across as creepy?
No, I think I just come across as creepy. I don't know. I tend to get like those are some of the roles that I get, right? Like I get these I don't know. It's weird. I either get these sort of genuine happy professionals, or I get these like super creepy sort of slime balls. And I think more slime balls than professionals, but I tend to get a bit of both. It's weird.
Had you seen the original Black Christmas prior to doing this film?
No, I had not.
Have you seen it since?
No, I have not.
You've never
I
seen
will
the
I
original?
will I will tell you, I have never seen any iteration of Black Christmas. And that's why this interview is terrifying for me.
No, don't be terrified. Don't be
I never
terrified.
saw mine. I saw my sequence, I think, but I never saw the whole film. I kept meaning to, but it never materialized for me.
I love the original, and
Yeah, so I hear it's great. I hear.
yeah, and I like I said, I watched the 2006 one last night to get me caught up for this, and I won't watch the 2019 one again, as I said. Yeah, that was a dumpster fire. But anyway, I know you probably did not see any of the other cast members, but I gotta say, there are a lot of lovely ladies on this film. I mean, you had Katie Cassidy, Michelle Trachtenberg, Lacey Chabert, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Like the list goes on. Of course, Andrea Martin, who was in the original,
Hmm.
plays the house mother on this one. Did you get to meet any of them at all?
Um, no, I don't think so. Like I said, I was just there for a few hours basically, and so yeah, no.
Michelle Trachtenberg, my big story about her is that we used to have a four-screen theater here called the Kmart Plaza,
Sure,
and
sure.
it closed down in 19 at the end of 1996 because they were building a 10 screener for Cineplex up at the mall,
Right.
which means we didn't have to stand in lineups outside, which
But yeah,
pressured our
which is great kind of between October and April, right? Like it's
yeah,
super good.
yeah. So we could just stand in the mall, but we had 10 screener at the mall. And I remember it was about mid-December on a Saturday. Actually, it was a Friday the 13th, Friday, December 13th
Hmm.
of uh, of 1996. The theater had its grand opening. I wasn't there for them. I was across at our Twin Cinemas, which closed down in 2000, watching Mars Attacks. But I went the following day to my first film up there, and the whole thing was you bring a canned good for the food shelter or the food bank, and you can go in to
Right.
see a movie. And they had selected a lot of family films, and there was two that I hadn't seen that were playing, and one of them was Harriet the Spy,
Sure.
and that of course had a young Michelle Trachtenberg in it, and first time I seen her, and so anytime I see Michelle, I think that was my first film at that theater was Harriet the Spy.
Wow. There you have it.
So she went from Harriet the Spy to being hit with uh, skates, skate blades in this film. So
Well, I guess she wanted to branch out.
I guess she wanted to branch out. Well, she grew into a stunning woman. I'll say that. Every one of them did. But anyway, you did not go to the premiere for it?
No, I imagine the premiere was either in LA or Toronto or something. I don't think they had one here.
No. So you've lived in Vancouver your whole life?
Yes, more or less.
You know what? You're like me. I've lived here in New Brunswick, Fredericton, New Brunswick, my whole life, and I didn't leave New Brunswick at all, even to travel until 2017.
Wow, that's a long time without crossing borders.
Well, Lisa Langlois, a Canadian actress who was in the movie Class of 1984, was on the show, and we got talking about travel, and she asked what was stopping me, and she invited me to assist her at her table at Horrorama in Toronto, and I could
Sure.
not, yeah, I couldn't say no to that.
Yeah, it's not that far to get to Toronto, is it?
Nope, and I'll be quite frank with
Again,
you.
what is it, like 20 hour drive?
Yeah,
Something like
here's the thing. I I'm the only one in my family who's ever been on ever been on a plane. It actually didn't bother me.
no,
And
planes are fun. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know about these days so much, but
Oh, I was on it last fall.
yeah, wearing the
Finally,
mask the whole way and all that. I don't know about that.
yeah, but
I know
there
a lot of
was,
people that have done that, but I'm hoping that the masks disappear sometime in the next couple of years. We
oh
can,
gee, I just wish this pandemic would take a hike. You
yeah,
know, I do back shift work, so I don't work around a lot of people, but I I find it funny. You have to wear your mask going into a restaurant, and you guys show your vaccine passes and all that stuff, and but yet you take your mask off while you eat. So what's the difference?
I don't really understand that. That's why I don't go to restaurants anymore.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just stupid. But I'm not really nervous around it. We had a short period where we are allowed to go without mask on.
Hmm.
Some people are still wearing their mask. I just went in without my mask on because I just wasn't bothered. But I have to wear my mask now, obviously. But I follow the mandates and stuff. But I don't
Yeah,
know how.
I find it strange, right? Like I was shooting something on Friday, and it's uh, it's weird to me because everybody on the set has to have a mask on, right? Everyone, including the actors. And then you get called to the set from your waiting area, uh, and you get in and you can do your blocking and everything with your mask on and whatnot. When you come back to shoot, pull your mask off and you put it in this little thing that this person carry, a little tray that has your name on it that a person is carrying for you. And then you go and you sit in there and you do whatever many takes that they need you to do with your mask off, surrounded by camera crew and whoever else happens to be in there needs to be in there, and the other cast members that are in there all with their masks off. So the camera crew has theirs on, but you like this group of people with them off, and then you got to leave the set and go and find the person with your little tray to get your mask back that you then have to go and wear off into your little tent, which is just with the other guys that had their masks off with you a minute ago. No one else is in there. So it all seems a little bit like, uh, okay, well, we're going to follow these recommendations and we're going to follow these guidelines, and I'm perfectly happy to do the responsible thing,
Mhm.
but it does seem like they're making these very strange exceptions for very strange things. Not that I'm complaining about the work. I'm happy to not to have the work, but it just does, like it does seem perplexing to me. Like, how is it that I'm deemed to be okay to be doing this for 45 minutes while we're shooting something, and then we have to walk around with it on, like, at a certain point, like I've just infected this whole place if I have it, because I've had it off. So, but anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
No, no, not at all. I do know that looking through your credits, you were in, of course, Agent Cody Banks.
Yeah, it was, yes.
I gotta show you something.
Can't wait to see it.
Yep. Just as soon as I could step in here and grab it. This I had done actually the year that Black Christmas 2006 came out.
Was that 2006?
Yeah.
Heyo, zing. Oh, you look at that. Look at you. Gosh. That's you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, wow. Nice.
Yeah. I
Look at
met
that.
Hillary Duff backstage at one of her
It,
concerts.
it sure looks like you did. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Good for you.
She was absolutely lovely and very beautiful. And
Well, the same can be said for everybody else in that cast. Obviously worked in that sequence. I worked very closely with Frankie Muniz and Keith David and Angie Harmon, and all of them were just, tremendous people to share a soundstage with. It's
mhm.
fantastic. Yeah.
I've heard good things about Frankie.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from him because I only knew of him from Malcolm in the Middle, and he just seemed like, and I was a little jealous, I have to be honest, if I'm going to be, really open. I was just like, how's this kid such a famous life? And here's me, I'm so much talentier than him, and, doing that BS routine that we do to ourselves. And so I didn't really know what to expect from him. And I thought he's going to be spoiled. He's going to be, uptight. He's going to whatever. And man, the kid nailed every take, knew every line, sang show tunes with Keith David in between takes, was supportive and polite and funny, and I take back absolutely every baseless, jealousy based complaint I ever had about the guy. He was fantastic.
Yeah. Nope. I didn't see Agent Cody Banks in the theater. I did see the second one in the theater, but
I don't know if the second one was as good. I thought the first one was actually quite charming. People
I'll be
were
frank.
soft on it.
I didn't like the second one at all. So
Yeah,
you're good.
I'm glad. That was
But
sort of the opposite scenario. I got called in for one day, and then they kept expanding it and made it into four. So that was fantastic. It was a
there
good
you
time.
go. Now you were also in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. T-
Yes.
Talk about working with Terry Gilliam. I love Terry Gilliam from his Monty Python days
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
films like Brazil and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas
Yeah.
and Brothers Grimm. I mean, that you could see Monty Python in all those movies
Oh,
because
sure.
just
Sure.
such a
Sure. Have
bizarre
you seen that?
imagination.
Have you seen The Man Who Killed Don Quixote yet?
No,
Oh, you got to check it out. It's like it's his best film in years. It's fantastic, I
did
think.
that just come out? I didn't hear of
Couple
that.
couple years ago now. Couple years ago.
I'm gonna have to look that
Yeah.
up.
With Adam Driver.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're down to four members of Monty Python now. We lost Terry Jones not too long ago, but
Yeah.
Terry Gilliam to me, especially the Academy Awards, Terry Gilliam has always been an overlooked filmmaker, you know?
Uh yeah, I mean he got this reputation, I think, for, not really wanting to follow the rules. There's a whole business with Brazil being the this movie of I think it was Arnon Micklin at Universal didn't like it and kept trying to cut it down, and Gilliam was a stick in the mud about it, and good for him for being. And
Hmm.
um so he kind of got this reputation after that as being this maverick filmmaker who couldn't get his movies and other things, but I think a lot of that got put on him. He was the one filmmaker that when I first got my on-camera agent, he was the one filmmaker that I said, listen, this is years before Parnassus came through. I said, listen, if Terry Gilliam is ever making a movie here, uh, I'm going to be in it. You just put me in it. I don't care how we have to do it. I don't care what casting director we need to bribe. I'm in it. I don't care if I just have to carry a trash can in the background. I'm in it. And so when the opportunity arose, I was more, I think, more focused and more committed to claiming that audition for myself than I was for any other audition I've ever been to, even though it was just this, a couple of lines here and there. But it was a great time on the set. And like normally an actor, you get called in from your trailer to a waiting area, and then you get called in from the waiting area to the set, and you do your work, and then you get sort of released to the waiting area or back to your trailer. So you don't really get to sit and watch what filming is happening. But Terry works in such an organic way that, first of all, we were in this giant blue open warehouse of a space for my scene. Just a studio with blue walls and blue sticks everywhere that they were using to mark what they were going to do with special effects. Um, and so we could just kind of put our chairs where we wanted. And so I just sort of set myself near where they were working, out of the way, but in earshot, so I could watch the whole day happen. And that was just amazing for me. And there's a couple stories I could tell about it, but I'll pick, well, gee, I don't know. I'll start with this one and we'll see if I tell any more.
Sure, go for it.
There's, yeah, I know I'm having trouble choosing even still. I'm going to tell both, and you can either cut one in or put them both in. I don't know.
I'll let both play. Yeah, go
First,
for it.
First story is this. When you're blocking a scene on set, for those that aren't aware, you get called into a group with all of the actors that are going to be in the scene, the camera crew and the director, and sort of a small group of department authorities have to stand around quietly and watch what you're going to do. The director's going to move you around a little bit, and then you get released so that they can light it and really set it all up, and then you come back to do the shooting, right? So that the blocking process is usually pretty, you sort of, the director will kind of put you where he wants you to start, say go, stop you, start you, move you around a little bit, and so it's usually pretty kind of in a box, right? But this was Terry's first film where he wasn't doing all practical effects. He'd never used CG before. So we were in this giant big blue space with this big blue screen and only one kind of stage, which was to represent the stairway at the Orpheum Theater downtown where they'd already shot a scene. So we were standing on this pile of sand that they'd put in, and he comes in and goes, okay, so here's the scene. These two characters are going to come running down the stairs, and they're going to come right past you here standing on the sand, and then you guys are going to come running in with your stretcher from over here, and then she's going to cry and wail, and then Parnassus is going to come over here, and he's going to be bringing a desert with him. At least that's what they tell me. And that was the entire blocking, the whole thing. It was just Terry going. But then we worked it out. We just kind of did it until it worked. The other story I have is later on we're shooting a different scene, and this lull while crew was setting up, and I was next to Terry and I was talking to him a bit about, we had this camera called the Techno Crane, which is this like really, really long crane of an arm of a thing with a camera on the end, and the camera sort of hangs from it and can swivel in any direction.
Mm-hmm.
It can go in and out and whatever. So it's this really fantastic instrument that you can use to get all sorts of sweeping and amazing shots. And I had just been shooting a short film that I wrote that won the Hot Shot Shorts competition. And we had wanted to get a techno crane for a shot, but we weren't able to get it. So I was talking to him about this camera because I was like, oh, so this is the thing. I've never, been able to see one before. We wanted to get it for our film that we did. And he's like, oh, well, they can be really useful for some things, but I'd really rather go in different directions for other things. And then he's like, well, I don't know if you saw the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I'm like, yeah, it's like my favorite movie. And he's like, well, there's this shot where we're pulling out from the Baron in the middle of the Turkish army, and you pull back and all the guys are supposed to step in. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's a great shot. And he's like, and then you can see the rails in it, right? Well, we're supposed to use the techno crane for that, but because we're shooting in this really sandy place, the sand kept getting into it and it kept jamming. So we had to find a different solution. And in the end, I actually think we have a better shot. I love that you can see the rails. I love that there's all that. I just like to be able to talk to him about this moment in one of his films that I love. I love the moment. I love the film. And it's like, And he's like, well, no one had ever done it before, and so now I don't want to do it again. So that's why we're not doing it again. So, he's just a really, and he gets everything fast. Right? He works really, really quickly once he gets going, and we did 4 takes of my bit, and that was it. Move on.
Did he arrive on set by coconut?
No, I don't think he likes to go over old territory. So no, I don't think he did.
Oh, he does. Oh, yeah. I always remember him as in Monty Python, the Holy Grail, as they didn't have horses, so
Yeah. So
they hit the coconuts together.
yeah,
Terry
yeah.
Gilliam, because Terry Gilliam did not do a lot of dialogue in Monty Python
No,
movies,
no,
very little, but he did do all the imagery that you see.
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, which is why his own movies are so spectacular. I think is because
Oh
he's
yeah.
got such an eye for that. I think
Oh yeah.
my favorite acting moment from him is in Life of Brian, where he plays the prison guard. Yeah, and he's just this, like thing, and the Roman soldier's trying to get information from him, and he's just looking at him like he can't understand what he's saying. And then as soon as the soldier goes away, he goes, so anyway, yeah, the thing is about the other, he just sort of goes into this perfectly articulate thing, like it's all just an act. It's lovely, wonderfully done.
Yeah, that's where Eric Idle peers in and goes, "What's the holdup? Are we gonna have a crucifix or not?"
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Um, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, you mentioned Brazil. It's
Yeah.
funny you said that because I've got Brazil on Blu-ray, and I also got
Sure.
the Criterion. I think it's the
Yeah.
Criterion
It
Blu-ray.
has it has both cuts and the Battle for Brazil documentary. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, and I gotta say, the small, like the cut version of Brazil,
It's not good.
totally different movie, and no, not good at all.
It's not good. So if
No.
you ever, there were many years, I don't know how it is now because of all the streaming services and everything, but like there are many years where if you saw that Brazil was on television, don't watch it because they almost always aired the Micklin cut, the 90-minute cut.
Why did they
Terrible.
do that?
The producer didn't like the feature, didn't like the film. I mean, that's the short answer to that, right? The producer didn't like the feature the way Gilliam had cut it, and wanted it to be shorter because he thought it was more palatable to audiences, and didn't understand the dark ending, didn't want a dark ending, and like just didn't like it, kept trying to give all of these notes that steered the film in a direction that Gilliam, not the film Gilliam was making. So he was just like, no.
Wow. Yeah, even the guy doing commentary on the cut version didn't like it and was talking about all the reasons why, and this film didn't work.
Well, the producer wanted to cut it so that Sam was this heroic character, and Sam isn't a heroic character. He's kind of a pathetic character, and so he kept trying to cut it so that the hero would walk in and that the hero would be present and the hero would save the day and all these things. But like none of the performances support that. The script doesn't support that. Like nothing about it supported it. So it was very weird. It's a weird cut. It's worth watching if you're a fan of Brazil to see the difference, because it's amazing how especially if you're a fan of Brazil and you've never seen it, because it's amazing how different it really is, despite being all the same shots. It's
Yes,
incredible how different it is.
absolutely. And yeah, Terry Gilliam had a great vision, I think my favorite Terry Gilliam film, strangely enough, is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
It's terrific. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good film.
like Boogie Nights, it captures the 70s beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it when these films say they're set in a certain time,
Yeah, and
but
then
they
they're kind
don't
of iffy
reflect
about
it.
the time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was watching Wonder Woman 84, and it's like I did not sense anything that brought me to the 80s in that movie. And
Yeah, not when Stranger Things has already done that so well. Like how do you screw it up at that point?
yeah, Yeah, but no, I really like Brazil, and I was flabbergasted at that cut, but nonetheless, I like his vision. I don't know where he's
Mm,
going to go with anything, and I think a lot
mm.
of that is from his Monty Python days. So I'm glad you got the opportunity to work with him.
I really am too. I actually spent a few years after that going, now I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to, I don't know what target to set, because in my head I'd always had this sort of Gilliam fantasy, and then it was like, oh well, it happened. All right, what's next? And for a while I didn't really know, so it was kind of weird. But
And of course, I know you do voice work, but you were also in
yeah,
the live action sequel, Scooby Doo Monsters Unleashed,
I was.
as a Daphne tattooed fan.
Daffy's tattooed fan number two, I'll have you know.
Should be
Number
number
one.
one.
Oh, well, I think it was alphabetical. Chris Goche got number one, and I got number two, but we spoke in unison, which is really fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? To have somebody that looks as lovely as Sarah Michelle Gellar tattooed on you, it's not bad.
Well, it's lovelier to meet her, frankly, than to have her tattooed on me. It's not a real tattoo. I don't actually have her
I
tattooed.
know that. I know. Technically, you do. You're just not letting me know the truth, right?
It's true. I don't want to take my shirt off ever.
um, yeah, so I watched Scooby Doo when I was young. That was one of those shows after school, one of
Same.
those shows
Yeah.
we love to watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scooby Doo. And all the bizarre creatures that were in it that turned out to be people under mask that would.
Always, always a person under a mask, right? Like it was, that's what one of the things I loved about Scooby Doo is that it was always, uh, the supernatural was always explainable.
Yeah. And and always the same line, if it wasn't for you pesky kids.
Yeah. Which I actually got to say in an episode of Supernatural.
There you go.
I was
But
in the I was in the
yeah.
crossover Scooby Doo episode of called Scooby Natural, and I played the guy behind the mask, kind of a shady real estate developer.
There you go.
Wow, many
But
years later.
yeah, well, talk about working on Scooby Doo. That must have been a nice trip back to your childhood to be on the
Oh
live
yeah,
action film.
yeah, it was a delight. I thought all of the main uh, Scooby gang was incredibly well cast. They were all quite lovely to hang out with. We were there for, despite how small my appearance is, we were actually on set for 4 days on that thing because we had to do the one day at the art gallery where we shot the opening sequence with a giant crowd of people, and then the next day we shot uh, we did, I don't know, I don't remember exactly all the days, but I know there was a day we were up at Britannia Mine shooting the end sequence where Chris and I do this chest bump behind everybody whenever they sort of works itself out. And then after we shot that, we had to go to the nearby like elementary school gym, where it's like a gym floor and then a stage. And we rehearsed the steps for the dance in there, with the Scooby gang. So all of us are kind of in there together, just kind of hanging out all day long, just working on some steps. And I feel like that was like one of the most sort of delightful times that I ever had on set because it was really casual. And Sarah had just gotten engaged, I think, at that time, or perhaps just married. But she was showing me her engagement ring, sitting next to each other on the stage, and she was like, showing me this ring, and she was all a fluster about it, and that was delightful. So it was just very personal and delightful. It
She
was
is
also
nice.
hockey. It was also hockey playoffs at the time, and Neil Fanning, I think his name is, who did the voice of Scooby, he was
Hmm.
on set the whole time, to be off-camera dialogue. And he's from Australia, so he'd never really watched ice hockey before. And the Canucks were playing the St. Louis Blues in a playoff series at the time, and he sort of came into a trailer at one point where we were watching the game, and he was just like, "Yeah, gee, I don't know if this is the sort of thing that I'm, I don't really understand the rules. I don't know what's going on. And by the end of like an hour, he was the most like loud vocal, put it in the net, like it's just like, come on, like, it's right in it. It was awesome.
Was Sarah as nice looking in person as she appears on screen?
I don't want to answer that question. I think that's not a nice question.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm serious. I don't think that's a nice question.
It is a nice question.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay.
We're going to cut that little bit out. I don't want to answer that question. I want to answer a question about somebody's looks.
Okay. I don't know how to edit, but nonetheless.
I think it's rude. I think it's rude to ask that question. I think it's rude to answer it.
Oh, I never thought so, but nonetheless, but okay.
I don't think her value should be determined by how good she looks. I think she's a terrific actor.
Oh, I never
And
said she wasn't.
I know you didn't, but I don't want to sort of diminish her by entertaining that whole Hollywood BS of women get asked about their looks, but men don't. Do I look good? Am I sexy? Am I beautiful? You're not going to ask that question about me. So why would you ask it about her? It's not fair. It's not right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, they did well cast the film. Matthew
Sure did.
Lillard nailed Shaggy.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yep, nailed Shaggy. And I wasn't even sure when I heard the announcement that they were doing this film that I didn't know how Matthew Lillard was going to nail it.
No, I had no idea. I didn't really know much about him as a performer before that show, so I didn't really know what to expect from it, but I thought he just nailed it. I thought it was excellent.
Well, anyway, I knew he was famous for the Scream franchise. Well, the first film
Yeah,
prior to that. And so, but it's interesting because if he goes to cons, he's got really two audiences there. He's got the horror fans and he's got the people who love Scooby-Doo.
Absolutely, right? Like what a weird combination of fans to sort of have together for yourself at a convention. Sort of never know who's going to come up to you, how exciting.
So what was he, because when I look at the cast, everybody's fine, but there is something really, I hate to use the word animated, but I'm going to go with it, about Lillard playing Shaggy.
Animated in what way? Like animated in a good way, in a bad way,
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah.
All good.
But there's something really animated about that character, so it's
did he go into that even when the camera wasn't rolling, or
I don't know that he did too often anyway, if he did. I mean, most of us, we'll do that if we're practicing our lines and stuff, but mostly on set we're by and large kind of human. You know what I mean? Like we just talk to each other about our work or about what the scene is coming up, or we're like, when is lunch? Like so we're sort of saving our performance for the performance in general.
Yeah. Okay. And you also, like I said, you did a lot of voice work, and
Absolutely.
one that's, of course, you did Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid was not actually voice work. That was me on camera, because I played younger Quentin or something, or older Quentin or something. And
you know what?
The kid did the voice of me, right?
You know what? I got that mixed up with something else. You're right. That was live action, because I saw those all in the theater, and I keep seeing that poster with the stick kid, and I'm like, oh right, that's not animated.
No, that's right. Yeah, I can see why you'd get confused.
Oh yeah, I saw those all in the theater. I like the first one, and from there they kind of diminish, but yeah,
as is the way, right? Like that normally happens with films that have sequel after sequel after sequel. They just don't stand up, right? Because the quality of a good first film, I find, is usually not in it's not in its formula as much as it's in its je ne sais quoi. It's in its it's in that sort of untangible piece of it, that the magic that makes it work. And you can't really bottle that and then repeat it and bottle it and repeat it and bottle it and repeat it. And so I just feel like they try and try and try, and it almost never works.
My cats are sniffing my hand. He knows I'm on camera, and I'll stick him on here if he gets
Mm-hmm.
too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of voice work, um, you're part of My Little Pony, the movie. You're part of My Little Pony a few times. What do you? I find this bizarre. What do you
Uh-huh.
think of what My Little Pony has become? Because I remember that growing up in the 80s, and they'd have the toy commercial. I never had them, of
Sure.
course, because they were girls' toys. But there's a real strange, do I dare say, cult fan base for that right now. There's a whole thing with bronies.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Well,
Um,
I think that it's basically, if you've ever been a fan of anything, then you should understand it, right? Like if you're a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan or a Black Christmas fan, then your sort of relationship to your media is exactly the same as their relationship to their media. It's just a different product. So they're as fascinated by the characters, as into the performers, as into whatever is happening on the show, as you are with horror. So it's it is kind of one for one. There was a moment I went to one of these. I've been to a number of these Brony conventions over time, and I was at one in Baltimore, which was one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one. And
okay.
I remember this moment of walking from my hotel down to the convention center, and the convention center was sitting right like adjacent to the Baltimore Orioles stadium, and there was a home game that night. And I remember seeing like all of these bronies dressed up as Twilight Sparkle or Rainbow Dash or in whatever cosplay of whatever pony character they wanted, just like bright colors and pony stuff, intermingled with people dressed in orange and black going to see the Orioles game. And I just thought, oh, this is the same. It's just a different product.
Yeah, I
You
get
know,
your point there. Yeah. I think it's funny, because My Little Pony was always introduced as a girls' product. That's why
yeah,
I think it's seen so. And
yeah.
again, I'm not
No,
trying
no,
to
no, I get
judge.
it. You and me are basically the same age, right? So
Hmm.
like I get it, because when I was growing up, like I could not change the channel fast enough when My Little Pony came on, right? Like I I thought it was saccharine and girly and all those things. And I'm really proud of the show that we ended up making, though, because something that Lauren Faust did when she created it was to say, look, these characters can't be two-dimensional. They can't be. Uh, she didn't want them to be princesses. In fact, I understand that she wanted them to all be. She didn't want Princess Celestia. She wanted Queen Celestia, because in her mind, a queen had a job to do, and a princess just sat around all day. And she's just like, no, they got to go to work, right? Because they're independent. And I think that's something that, the idea, I guess, was that little girls would see themselves in these characters and see their own strengths in these characters. But what I think happened was a lot of men started to see themselves represented in these characters in a way that they weren't always represented in media, right? Because I think men are, or certainly before My Little Pony came out, which is now 12 years ago or something, um, I think a lot of media was portraying men as, you had to be tough, the man's man, everything else. And a lot of people don't see themselves, a lot of men don't see themselves like that. So they started to see themselves in these ponies and see themselves uh, in these characters who were dimensional and uh, whose whole purpose was to learn a friendship lesson. It wasn't about like, My Little Pony from the 80s that you and I are familiar with. That was sort of, a lot of that was about like, oh no, the pearl isn't sparkly enough, you know. It's just like and but this was about sort of genuine friendship lessons. And for me, like a lot of, you know, one of the stories that I have from there that always chokes me up when I tell it is um I remember sitting at a table waiting for autographs, you know, having this lineup of people come and get autographs from me, and this, you know, 20 something year old men by and large, and then this like 40 something year old guy, maybe 50 something year old guy, comes up and says, I don't want an autograph, I just wanted to thank you because I have an autistic son who has been largely nonverbal until this show, and because he's able to relate to these characters and relate to these lessons, he is here at this convention and he is talking to people and he's like dancing on the stacks and he's come out of his shell. And the guy just started to get like red-eyed and weeping with gratitude. And I just was like, wow, like I had never been a part of anything before or since that touched people so deeply and so meaningfully. And I, you know, I will defend it forever. It's just been such an beautiful and amazing experience to be part of, both to be part of the show and to be part of the fandom.
According to, I'm looking at Wikipedia here, your last
Mm.
thing you've done, at least film wise, was in 2019. I actually never heard of this film, but boy, do I love the title. Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah, that was a Netflix film.
I love that title.
Yeah, I think I've done that was Ali Wong's Netflix film. Quite funny, apparently. I never actually got to see it yet, but you know, I think if you've got Netflix, you'll probably be able to find it still.
I actually don't
I've
have
done.
television.
Well, there you go.
I
I don't
just watch my Blu-rays. That's it, you know.
know.
It's
Yeah,
too much reality TV, you know, and I'm not into that.
yeah, fair enough.
Hmm.
I have done other things since then. I started a movie called Time Helmet, which is still, we're working on the rough cut of that right now. And I've been in a couple of TV shows. Last film, I guess, was Always Be My Maybe. Yeah, but a couple of TV shows since then. I was in The Twilight Zone since then, and I was in.
I see that Time Helmet is mentioned here on IMDb. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
IMDb's it doesn't always catch up, and I don't personally update it usually. So
Okay.
eventually it'll catch up.
What can you tell us about Time Helmet?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Yeah.
Um, it's a story about an inventor genius played by me who is comes back in time after having invented his own time helmet projector. He's invented the receiver in today's time. He invents the projector in the future, projects himself back into the receiver to occupy his younger self's body in order to patent troll his ex-wife.
In order to what with his ex-wife?
Patent troll her.
What's that mean?
Means he's going to steal her inventions from her because she's actually smarter than him.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
patent. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's pretty stupid, but also quite clever, and also hopefully kind of touching. So we'll
Okay.
see. I'm sitting with because I'm a producer on it as well. So I'm sitting with the director editor right now, trying to hash out uh, our rough cut for screenings,
Uh-huh.
because we had a cut that was just, you know, sort of half hour too long, had, you know, just took too much time, too much space, and robbed it of its comedy, you know. So I've been sitting with him and we've been going through it scene by scene by scene and just going, can we trim this up here? Can we cut this out there? Can we jump from that to that? Can we move this scene to here? Can we take that scene out entirely? And there's, you know, just it's tedious work, but I think we only have about 20 more minutes to cover, and hopefully we'll get that done this week, and then we can start looking at screenings and seeing how audiences react, and then from there we hopefully sell it, and then you can get to see it. But it's pretty excellent, I think.
You've done a lot of television. I'm scrolling down through here, and
Yeah.
too many to name. But is there like one or two um, things that you've done on television that really stand out to you that are memorable for you?
Television particularly.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a few things, and my mind will just go to weird places. But I remember doing like a show called geez, what's it called? Special Unit 2 was called, and I got to wear this like prosthetic hand because I was secretly a lizard person, and I was quite fond of that idea of having this gooey prosthetic hand. And then I got like pulled out of my own chair, which I wanted to do myself, but they wouldn't let me. Um, but that was fun to do. It was an early one. I feel like I've done stuff more recently that was more interesting too, but I can't think of it. What's the last thing I did there on IMDb? What have you got?
Bring that right up here.
Yeah, bring it up. I'll bring it up
Uh,
too.
yeah. Well, The Now is a TV
Oh,
miniseries.
that's on there now. Yeah, that was excellent because I got to meet Bill Murray, so that was fun.
Now I hear mixed things about him.
Yeah,
I've always been a fan,
yeah.
but I have heard I've had people on here, and I wouldn't even ask about that in particular. But
No, I'm
I've
I'm okay
had
with that.
actors who've had issues with him, and I
I
guess
my
yeah.
my I mean I didn't get to talk to him too much, but my estimation of him was that he was exactly like you'd expect him to be. And I think a lot of people in the acting world um, are one way on camera, and then they're kind of shinier or different or more friendly or more interested in glad handing or schmoozing or something. And he doesn't care, you know.
Hmm.
And because I mean, what character has he ever played that you would think, oh, he's interested in that stuff? Well, he's interested in being sort of overtly friendly ever. There's nothing about him that suggests that to me. So he was exactly like I would have expected. He was. I remember being introduced to him. I was sort of brought to the set, and I was standing there outside of the set, uh, and Peter Farrelly sort of comes around the corner with Bill Murray in tow, and very kindly decides to introduce me. And Bill shakes my hand and says hello and welcome to the set, which I thought was, friendly and unnecessary. And so that was very nice. Uh, and then they realized I wasn't actually needed for the job that day. They had somehow put me on the call sheet, but I wasn't in the scene. So uh, they released me, and Bill was like, "Well, nice working with you," which I thought was amusing enough, and shook my hand again. And we had another little chat back at the set, and that was back at the circus where the trailers are, and that was it. And I went home. But I thought he was, it was small talk, but it was all perfectly ordinary Bill Murray stuff.
I've always liked Bill Murray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I had an actor on here who appeared in Tootsie, and
Yeah, wow.
said it was a nightmare working with him, but
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that he doesn't like I think he really just doesn't care about the sort of trappings of Hollywood,
mhm,
um, like the rules and stuff. Like I've heard that, how you hire Bill Murray, how most of us get hired is like if someone wants to hire me directly, that's a thing that you could do, right? Like you
mhm,
contact my agent and you say, I'm interested in Peter News availability for such and such a date on such and such a project. Send me the script. I'll read the script. I'll either pass or I'll accept. We negotiate a contract and away we go. Most actors work like that if they're not doing an audition process. Bill doesn't do the audition process at all, and he doesn't have an agent. How you hire Bill Murray is you phone a number that anyone can phone, and you say, "Here's my project. I would love for you to be a part of it," and he will either respond to that or not. But I've heard that sometimes when people who have worked with him a number of times say, "Listen, Bill, we'd like you to be in this thing," and he goes, "Yeah, okay, I'll be there," and they tell him the date, and then they don't hear from him again until the date, and they're like, "Well, we don't know if Bill's going to show up, but hopefully he does." And it's
I
like I could not get away with that. I would just get fired.
yeah, I've heard stories like when he did Meatballs, which I think was his first feature. Um, he didn't know if he was gonna be. He was the lead,
Yeah.
and a lot of times they say he just looks at the script and tosses it. Well, of course, what he improvises is probably better than what was on the script anyway. So
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, so I wouldn't put it past him. So to come up with something better. So but yeah, you got a lot of talented people on that. I don't know who all you worked with on that show, but I mean, you got
Uh,
Dave Franco,
yeah, I worked
Daryl
with Dave
Hannah,
Franco. I didn't get to work with Daryl Hannah, which is too bad.
yeah, Alyssa
Dave
Milano.
Franco didn't get to work with Alyssa. I was just there for one day, really, well, 2 days, but was just one day in a hospital sequence. So just a couple
Hmm.
people.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
off. I mean, that's the guy that I am, right? Like I'll work one day here, one day there, maybe 5 days there, and every now and then I get to be the lead in something. But by and large, it's one day here, one day there, which means you get to work with whoever happens to be there that day. Which sometimes is all of the stars, and sometimes it isn't.
you got to work with Bill. That's pretty
Well,
amazing.
almost. I got to shake Bill's hand and almost work together because I wasn't
Okay.
actually in the scene.
Oh, okay.
So I came this close to working with Bill Murray. We were on the set together, and I had to come
So,
back the next day, and he didn't.
what do you have coming up that you can talk about?
Well, I can talk about the now, which I didn't know that I could talk about until you mentioned it.
Hmm.
What else can I talk about? I did that. I guess that Twilight Zone's already out. I did Turner and Hooch. I just did that. I think is out on Disney Plus already. If you want to watch that. And there's a movie I did that I don't think is up there yet, so I can't mention that one, I'm afraid. But I was really excited about the person I got to work with in that one. So when that comes available, that will be very interesting.
Okay.
I'm also very excited about as soon as we can get all in a room together. I'm very excited about recording season 2 of my podcast called Voyage of the Whifferfall, which is about 15th century Dutch explorers that sail off into the edge of the world.
You do a podcast.
Well, I've done a season of a podcast. I do this basically a radio show, uh, and yeah, it's about proving the Earth is flat and succeeding. At least
Oh,
that's what season 1 is about.
proving
It's
the Earth is flat and succeeding.
yeah, it's
Okay.
I had one rule when I wrote it, which is that every episode I write has to be stupider than the last episode I wrote. So the first couple episodes are like, okay, we're gonna set some things up, and there's a couple of jokes that are kind of funny, but like I feel like by episode 3, it just starts to go, what the fuck am I listening to? Like it's just like weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And now season 2 is written. It's just like, okay, we're in, there's all sorts of nonsense going on in season 2.
How do you outdo yourself when you say it gets stupider and stupider? How do you outdo yourself with that?
Yeah, that's a good question because you do kind of run up against a wall with it sometimes. But I just feel like um I don't know. I don't know how you do it. You just do it. You just kind of go, what is the dumbest thing I can think of? I have a talking pig that can travel through time now,
Okay.
right? Which is
Okay.
which is dumb. It's really dumb.
Why is it dumb?
I don't know, because it's a talking pig that can travel through time, named Time Pig.
Time Pig. You know what? To me, that sounds more interesting than most of the stuff playing at the theater right now.
Well, check it out.
you know,
Voyage of the Whifferfall is available on wherever you get your podcasts.
you know, yeah. Like, I mean, it's certainly more interesting than After We Fell or whatever that was. the uh, take on 50 Shades and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
My story about 50 Shades is this, that I wasn't planning to watch it. And then right after my wife and I got together, we decided to watch it for, I don't know, because we wanted to watch something stupid. And so 50 Shades came up and we watched it. And then as soon as the credits rolled, both of us were like, this was terrible. As soon as the credits rolled, we had an earthquake. And so I was like, oh, we watched 50 Shades and the earth moved.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a smart way to do that stuff and a not so smart way. I did like how 9.5 weeks did it,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
9.5 weeks had a lot of bizarro. I don't know. I was able to follow Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger and that, and not come away feeling stupid, But plus, there's a
Yeah,
lot of
fair
great.
enough.
No, plus, there's a lot of great Canadian music on that soundtrack that never ever gets brought up when that movie is brought up.
Hmm.
But I
Interesting. I
got
don't think I knew that, but
I
I'm gonna
got
check
this
that out now.
I got the soundtrack, and there is so much Canadian talent on the soundtrack,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like,
Well,
wow.
we Canadians are talented folks, eh?
I believe so. Yeah,
Right?
I believe. Well, except me, but other than that,
I don't know. I don't know. It takes a good there's a talent in being able to interview people, right? Like that's not everybody can do it.
I don't know. I think I do it for fun, but I think I'm at the bottom of the barrel when it comes
Well,
to it. So
I act for fun and I may be at the bottom of the barrel too, but I've managed to make a living. So there you go.
well, I don't make a living at it. I make a
You,
living at something that gets absolutely no respect out there right now. I work as a cleaner.
I respect that.
Well, you know
I
what?
respect that.
I hear a lot of stuff about, and I get it. Doctors and nurses are very, very important, especially with what's going on
Hmm.
there right now. I'm not going to
Yeah.
deny that, but
Yeah.
I, but you never hear cleaners get brought up in that conversation, and we're so underpaid and
Oh yeah.
underappreciated.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't envy like hospital cleaners. I don't envy that uh,
No.
job right now at all because I just think yeah, you get ignored.
Yep.
And I'm sorry
So
for that because you're like that building doesn't function without you.
yeah. So like I said, I go to work and leave work, and I feel like, boy, I'm like the lowest thing in life.
Some sets can be like that. So, there's the kind of performing that I do because, like I said at the beginning, it's like a service industry to the American industry. And sometimes you get brought in, you're in for one day, you have one line, and nobody wants to give you the time of day. Nobody wants to give you a note. Nobody wants to bother to, make sure that you're happy or satisfied or in a position to make your choices or to let you make the choices you want to make. It's just fit into this tiny little box that we have decided you need to fit into and then, shut up and go home, basically. And every now and then you get a set like that. It's not often, but every now and then. And it's like, oh, I am the bottom of the barrel here. Yeah. I don't matter to this production. They can happily cut me and they do that just because they don't like me,
Ah,
so it happens.
yeah. Well, you know what? I gotta check out your podcast because I think that is very interesting, and it's actually a subject that I can't even believe they haven't done a movie on that. People trying to prove that the Earth is flat. That sounds like a
Well,
Monty Python thing.
yeah, I mean, I sort of feel like I want to tackle that issue in a more modern day sense, but that's my season one goal because it's 15th century Dutch explorers, right?
Hmm.
The king wants to prove the Earth is flat, so he sends out his best ship to go find the edge, and they do.
Yeah. No, no. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you come on here today.
Well, thank you.
I do want to extend my apologies over the earlier thing with Michelle Geller, but I'm going to
You
be
just like don't even worry about it. Don't even think
I'll
about
be
it.
frank with you. I always found her attractive, but I didn't mean to diminish her.
No, fair enough. It's
Yeah.
just like it's a double standard in sort of Hollywood politics and interview politics that if we, especially as men, if we don't call it out when it happens, then it's just going to keep happening, and it's going to continue to diminish the our female colleagues that we respect and admire and look up to. So, nothing personal, but I'm not going to answer that question. That's
Yeah.
just That's just a thing that I've decided for myself. And thank you for rolling with it and moving forward.
Yeah. No, it was never meant anything but from my end, you know.
I
So
understand that. I
yeah,
understand. I
yeah,
understand that completely.
yeah. But I got to admit, some of my favorite performers right now are female.
Mine too.
I'm going to tell you, I am a huge Emma Stone fan.
Yeah.
And when I first saw her, I thought she was stunning. But every time I went and saw Cruella last year
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just to see Emma Stone and how she was going to tackle that, because Glenn Close played her in the live action version
Yeah.
before that,
Yeah.
and Glenn Close nailed it. But
Glenn Close is
we've seen
tremendous
Glenn,
talent.
yeah, but we've seen Glenn Close play crazy. Look at Fatal Attraction.
Sure.
Emma Stone has gone from being somebody I love to look at to somebody who I like to see what she does next. I first saw her in Superbad, which I
Sure.
love,
Yeah.
which I love. Finally, she got the lead in Easy A, which I'm glad she finally did. It was a couple, about 3 years after that. She nailed that. But then, you see her do, I mean, she's good with the teen comedies, but then you see her do Zombieland.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see her do La La Land, gets her into musical.
She's a talent, man. She is a
The
talent.
Favorite, you
Yeah.
know, and then Cruella. So you're right. Women do get pigeonholed into that, but Emma's one of these ones.
It's
Every
it's
time I
not
see
that
her, I got to see her.
I mean, so much of Hollywood is about the way that you look to begin with, right? So it's not that there aren't women out there, and even very famous and very talented women out there, that aren't marketing themselves based on how they look or aren't concerned with the way that they look, but not really. I don't think it's up to us as men to really make that a focus for them. Like, they got to deal with that all on their own. So, I'm here to support it. If that's the way they want to do it, if Sarah Michelle Gellar was sitting here with me going, no, go ahead, answer that question, then I'd answer the question. But it's up to her, not up to me, not up to you.
Hmm. And of course, it does work on the flip side of the coin, though, too,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure George Clooney and Brad Pitt get it.
Yeah, not as often. It's the same thing with, like, who are you wearing, right? A tuxedo? I don't know. Nobody gets asked that when you're a man. When you're a woman, all the time. It's weird.
Yeah.
Trust me. It's a strange double standard, and it's one I would love to see end. Fine. Ask the men more. Ask the men what they're wearing. I'm wearing a shirt from Ohio that says Ohio on. Ask men what they're wearing.
I've never noticed that as far as what people wear.
Yeah, it's just
I've
part of the
never,
same. It's part of the same double standard.
because I mean, when you see the award shows, I mean, they got to dress up anyway. So, you know,
It's fun to dress up for awards shows.
I wouldn't dress up for award shows.
I've
I'd
done
show,
it.
I
It's a
would,
good time.
I would show up casual.
I've done that too. Last awards show I went to, I special ordered a polka dot, like a confetti suit.
Oh,
That,
wow.
that was excellent. I'm sure there's a picture of me on
Now,
online.
was all the polka dots different colors or all the same?
Well, it was a palette. Let me see if I can find a link here for you. I don't know if this is an easy Google right now, but
Yeah.
gotta spell things right too. That'll help.
Yeah.
Keep spelling my own name wrong. Doing a search, doing an image search.
Yep. Well, you're doing that.
Nah, it's not coming
Yeah,
up.
not coming up.
No.
What's
But
it?
it was confetti, so it was like all sorts of different, like about 6 different colors.
Oh, nice. What's it like I've never been to Vancouver, but what's it like right now in terms of pandemic there? Is everything
Oh, Uh, it sounds like it's about the same. Like it's we sort of peaked on our Omicron right now, so our caseloads are going down now, but our hospitalizations are still kind of. We're getting our boosters. Um, you can go to restaurants. I think they had bars and gyms closed over Christmas, but they've reopened those now too. So it's like it's not great, but it's not. You're wearing your mask at the grocery store still.
Are we gonna see the end of this? Because it's
Oh
like,
yeah, one day.
my goodness, it's like, where did this all come from?
Well, it's the 1918 pandemic ended. The Somehow these things tend to go away and then they come back and then they go away. It's just part of a larger cycle.
Well, I got my
But
2 shots so I could travel to Toronto
yeah,
for that.
good for
For
you.
that.
I'm getting my booster in 2 weeks.
I'm not planning to get the booster,
Oh,
and
get the booster. Why not? Why wouldn't you get the booster?
why? Because I mostly work by myself.
Yeah,
I
but
don't really.
it's not about you. It's about the community. It's about everybody else.
Yeah, but I'm not around everybody else. This is
Yeah, but
as
but you
much of a communication that we're gonna
but
have. Like,
do you ever want to go to a restaurant again? Do you ever want to go to a movie theater ever again? You're going to be around people then. Get the booster.
our movie theaters are closed, so
Yeah, but they're not going to open unless everybody gets the booster. Get the booster. Get the booster.
I'm not dartboard.
Yeah, but you got you get flu shots every year. You get
I
tetanus
do.
boosters. You get tetanus boosters every 10 or 15 or whatever. You get like you vaccines require boosters. Get the booster.
Let
It's
me ask
covered.
this question. Let me ask this
Yeah,
question.
ask away.
I got the 2 initial
Yeah,
shots.
sure.
Why do we got to get a third? Like, what's
Uh,
next? A fourth? A
maybe,
fifth?
maybe. If you take an aspirin for a
Mm-hmm.
headache and the headache gonna goes away a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes back, do you take another aspirin or you do go, fuck it, I already took the aspirin?
I take 2 Advil and they go away.
Right, but what if it comes back? What if it comes back the next day? What do? Take more Advil? I already took the Advil. How about your laundry? If your laundry gets dirty, what are you going to do? Do your laundry. Now your laundry is clean. What if it gets dirty again? Well, I already did my laundry. Don't be an idiot. Get your booster. Keep getting the boosters. I don't want this pandemic to go on, and it's because people don't take the shots. Take the shots.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't think anybody's gonna miss me if I'm gone, so I don't.
Yeah, but it's not about you. It's about the people that get it from you.
People aren't going to get it from me. I'm not
Well, they
around
might.
people.
Well, you might be.
I work back shift. I'm not around people.
Yeah, I know, but you got to buy groceries. You're gonna pass a person in the street one day. You're gonna be in
Hmm.
a room with someone someday. It's about community uh, involvement, right? Like you're not an island as much as you might make yourself one. You're
Oh, I
not,
definitely try to make myself one.
but you aren't, right?
I'm
You
very
aren't.
anti-relationship all the way.
Well, that may
Yep.
be true, but you're still part of a community, even if you're anti-relationship. Even if you kind of keep yourself separate from the community, you're still part of the community. It's unavoidable. There's a thing about group dynamics and individual dynamics that I always like to talk about, right? A lot of people think, well, I'm an individual, therefore I subscribe only to individual dynamics. Only things that apply to me matter to me. Well, that's fine, but group dynamics exist as well and at the same time. You can't always and only do individual things, and you can't always and only do group things. Group dynamics and individual dynamics are intimately intertwined. If you want to be an individual, you require the group in order to be separate from it. And if the group moves towards you or you move towards the group, then another person, if not you, is going to need to reject that and move away and be individual again, right? So we're always kind of shifting between individual and group, individual and group. Vaccines work when the group makes the choice to say it doesn't matter if you're in the individual or in the group, everybody needs to participate in order to do the larger thing, which is survive.
Oh, well.
I know. Don't get me wrong. It sucks. I don't want the booster, not really, but I'm going to damn well go and get it because I want to be able to go to restaurants again. And only if enough people do it. Only if everybody does. You need something like 80% of people to do it. So be in the 80%.
What about the 20% that don't?
They're the jackasses, I'm afraid. The 20%
Okay.
that don't, they're the ones that are more likely to die.
Okay. Did the
You may
previous shots affect you any?
no.
No, didn't affect me either. And I got my card on them right after my second shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I got mine too.
I hear various things about boosters making people more sick though too.
I've not heard that.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Well, I'll let you know in a couple of weeks when I get my booster.
Okay.
The booster is a smaller dose. So it's weird. It would make no sense to me that it would make you sicker because
Uh,
it's less medicine.
I know a couple in Toronto right now
Yeah.
that were knocked out by it.
Oh,
Not
what for
dead,
like
but
but for a day, right? You're gonna get tired for a day. I went to Africa and I had to get like 7 shots in one day, and I'll tell you, I was knocked the fuck out for a couple of days there. But like, yeah, but then I could go to Africa and then I was fine and I didn't get yellow fever. So fine, good.
you
A-okay.
went to Africa. Did you
I
go on
sure did.
safari?
No, I went to teach acting at Mira Nair's acting school in Kampala, Uganda.
Oh, wow. I've never been. I watch a lot of African animal videos. Did you see
Oh,
any
yeah.
animals?
No, I was in the city. I didn't have time to get out. I did go see the source of the Nile though at Jinja. That was kind of fun to be able to go see Lake Victoria sort of become the river, this famous river. It was wild.
You see, this is the thing. Uh, um, the way Africa is portrayed on television and compared to what it is are two different things. I've never
Super
been
different.
there
Super
because
different.
they always show you people in these straw huts and spears and stuff like that, which I
Doesn't
don't
not
think,
exist.
huh?
It doesn't not exist, but
What
yeah,
was it like
it's a
where
city.
you was though?
I was in Kampala, which is I mean, there's a lot about it which was different, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the social attitudes are different and a lot of those kinds of things. Uh, and I became really aware of my own skin color in a way that I hadn't been before, which was really interesting and I think really positive for me, because I was the only white guy for 60 miles.
Okay.
So that was neat to sort of have that experience and take that in. But in terms of a city, like I don't know, it was a bit dusty, but it was a city, like any city. There are marabou storks in the trees. You
Oh
know,
yeah, they got
a lot, a
huge
lot of
bills.
they do a lot of monkeys everywhere. But yeah, these
Snakes?
the little monkeys. I don't remember. There's so many snakes. A lot of little monkeys. They'd steal the breakfast right off your plate if you ate outside. Beautiful bird sounds. Um, and like the warmest, friendliest people by and large. Except the police, you had to bribe the police if there was ever a choke in the traffic, especially if they could tell. Like I always sat in the back behind a tinted window because if they could tell there was a white guy in the car, they assumed there was money in the car, and so the driver would have to put money in it, like the police would hand them a newspaper. Sorry, the police would hand them a newspaper, and they would put money in the newspaper and then hand the newspaper back, because if they just handed the money, that would be a bribe and they would get arrested for bribery. But if they put the money in the newspaper and handed the newspaper back, the police could pretend they didn't see the money, but then they'd let them go. They knew perfectly well, right?
Oh wow.
So it's
Never heard of that.
this weird kind of machinations uh, of structure. But
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, it was interesting. It was a really interesting experience. It was a beautiful, beautiful country.
Okay.
Mira made the a guacamole out of the avocados that grew in her own yard, and it was the best thing I'd ever eaten.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I watch a lot of African wildlife videos, so
I would have loved to have gone up to, if I'd had another week there, I would have gone up to Murchison Falls and tried to see some elephants or something, but
there you
alas,
go.
next time.
Well, you get to see marabou storks. I got, like I said, uh,
Apparently, the thing about a marabou stork is that all the other animals think that they're so disgusting to eat that they just let the carcasses rot on the beach. Isn't that interesting? I think it's interesting.
oh wow,
Yeah,
spotted
apparently,
hyenas operate differently.
yeah. But apparently the marabou storks are just like, they're so unpalatable that the carcasses will just rot everywhere if you don't clean them up.
Oh wow.
Bizarre.
Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you come on here today, and
Yeah, it was a delight. Thank you so much.
yeah, and talk about Black Christmas and Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
I loved hearing the Terry Gilliam stories, you know.
I wish we could have spent the whole time talking about Terry. That was a fun time.
Yeah, well, I hope finally he'll get the respect he deserves, you know, but if he's being slighted because of Brazil, then you know what? It's really not what the awards are supposed to be doing.
Oh, although we could get into the politics of award shows if you like, but let's just wrap it up now.
We'll wrap it up now. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the awards. I'm just
Yeah.
glad Emma Stone won an Oscar, you know?
Yes. Yes. Good for her.
Yes, I want to see her do it again.
Sure. Sounds
Yeah.
good to me. All right.
Well, you have yourself a wonderful day.
And
Uh,
you have a lovely evening.
yes, it is evening here. Kitty's asleep over there. He is not coming near me because he knows I'll stick him right up in front of here. He says I do this for hits because people love
Yeah,
Kitty.
they
People
do.
love Kitty.
They do.
Yes. Oh well. Anyway, you have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you for
Hey,
coming on here.
you too. Thank you for a scintillating conversation on a broad range of topics. It was lovely.
Absolutely. You
All
take
right.
care. God bless.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Bye bye.